here we are again. Derrick Parker, the hip hop cop. That's coming out left and right, you know?
Or with these federal cases that are going on right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're going after a lot of people.
Casanova, so let's get straight to it. Casanova was brought up on a 16-count indictment by the feds. What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, you know, I always said before, when the feds do cases like these, they pretty much have a lot of ammunition to go after people. They do a really good job on bringing out the conspiracy and the charges that you're charged with. And if they locked up 18 people, they had a big case. That was not just done by one agency, by multiple agencies, where they put a lot of information together. They gathered a lot of information, and they made arrests of a lot of people and charged a lot of people on these crimes.
Right. What can you tell me so far from what you know and your insight on?
Well, from what I learned about the case is basically it stemmed around a conspiracy with drugs and shootings and up in Poughkeepsie, New York, and it sort of worked its way down towards the southern part of New York City, which is like Westchester in that area. And, you know, they said Casanova was tied to it. Now, Casanova's right, you know, he's innocent until proven guilty, but when the feds get cases like this and they lock people in, they're gonna get cooperators that are gonna come up and say you're part of a gang or you're part of a conspiracy, and they're gonna charge you with something, because the feds don't lose many cases. I would say they have a 90% conviction rate, and their biggest thing about federal cases is that they induce cooperators to talk, to give up information, people that commit crimes, that were part of an organization, and their laws are a lot different than the state laws, local laws. So the feds have a lot of leeway to go after people and to bring them in conspiracies and things of that nature so they can charge you in cases like these. And that's just what happened in this case, from what I know.
Right. Now, there were some things that hit online. Let's get to one first. Casanova was on the run, supposedly, and as of now, he turned himself in. Is that gonna make his case worse for him? How does that work?
Well, it looks good that the feds didn't have to chase him and he turned himself in. That helps on his part, you know, because I don't know if he has a violent criminal background. I don't know his pedigree just yet, but I don't know if he's up for bond or they'll release him on his own recognizance and he'll have to appear in court at a later date. But he turned himself in, so I'm pretty sure he is a good lawyer who will negotiate a deal, possibly, to allow him to be out for trial, or he'll take a plea if he's found to be guilty and part of this crime, this organization, and it'll happen that way.
Give me your honest opinion. Do you think he will be set on bail? Because this is a RICO case. I'm not sure if he's specifically involved in a violent crime, because I know if you're involved in violent crimes, they're not going to let you go. Well,
they usually, and I think you saw that in the Tekashi case, they wanted to let him go when he was in the Fed case, and they didn't let him go. They didn't allow him to leave jail. Remember, he was in there for a while. I mean, it all depends on the magistrate, on the judge, you know. But in this particular case for Casanova, with the guerrilla gang or the guerrilla group that they call it, there was a murder of a 15-year-old minor up in Poughkeepsie. So that brings a lot of new information to the case, whereas the feds now have a murder involved in this conspiracy. So those charges against one of the members is very serious, where that person's looking at life in prison, you know? Like I said, they have 18 other persons that they arrested. And out of these 18 people, these guys are gonna talk, they're gonna cooperate. I'm gonna be pressed to tell you that with everything that's going on with these cases, most of these guys are gonna talk. They're gonna snitch, as they call it. And they're gonna talk about what their involvement was, what they did, how they did it, when they did it, because the feds have a way of making you tell everything that you've done, even from childhood, all your bad acts.
Right.
And then once they go over your bad acts, you can't be charged again with them. That's why they go over it. So if they did this case, they have a pretty good case. Like I said, I'm sure the case is pretty good, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes down the line with this gang and then Casanova's involvement in it. Well, Casanova definitely was spoken to by several guys. I know some of my friends in the NYPD spoke with him. You know, they had a rapport with him where he talked and they talked to him. Not that he snitched on anybody, but just to tell him to be careful. You know, he's out here, he's visible. You know, you're a rapper and you're involved in this industry. You want to be out here to make money, man, and to do good music. To get involved with different people that are involved in violent acts and crimes, you can't be tied to that, because that brings down your name and it causes problems for you in the long run. And now, as you saw in the Bobby Shmurda case, the label drops you. They don't even want to be bothered with it anymore,
right,
because they don't want to take the chance of, you know, ruining the label that supports your music. So, you know, to be out here committing crimes or to be involved with people who committing crimes, you don't want that under your belt. You want to just stay away from that.
Right.
Yeah, well, in New York, you got to remember this case. Listen, everybody got indicted in this case, I'm pretty sure. And like you said, everybody's going to be coming in front of a magistrate to face charges, and they're going to plead not guilty or whatever it is. And then later on, the Fed's going to bring them in one by one, and they're going to speak to everybody about what they did in this particular case. And then, you know, people are going to say what they did and what they didn't do. And if you go to trial with them, that's going to be very tough to do, because the Feds are going to throw a lot of ammunition that they have at you, evidence that they have, cooperation from the witnesses that they've spoken to, and some of the guys that are involved in the gangs that are going to come up and say, hey, look, this is what I did,
right,
and this is how we did it. You know? Speaking
of witnesses, there was a video that came out on social media. It seems like there was a statement that this woman was making, and she mentioned Casanova.
Well, I think the video said something about her being his girlfriend's best friend.
Yeah.
And I don't know what her involvement is with him or what she knows about him, but it seems that somebody was talking to her and she's talking about something about what his involvement is, or what he might be involved in some criminal activity or anything about it. I mean, some people know people more personal than others. So somebody got to her to make an interview or to say what she knew about him, you know? So, I mean, we'll see how that goes also, if the Feds use that and bring that into this case, or if they don't. But things like that, the Feds definitely want to know about. And they might even reach out to talk to this girl and see what she really knows about him.
Right. I read the indictment. It did mention interstate commerce and foreign commerce. Can you break that down, what that is?
All right, interstate commerce is when you go and you commit a crime abroad. Like, for example, you could be in New York and then travel into New Jersey or Washington or Baltimore, or like Poughkeepsie, places like that.
Right.
So you furtherance a crime by going into another jurisdiction. Like, we used to have that a lot, where I had guys that would have involved in cases where they would sell guns and then they would go to Virginia. And then you get them for the interstate commerce because they cross state lines. Mm-hmm. So that's what really that means. Foreign commerce is somewhat similar to where, you know, foreign is like similar to interstate commerce, but it's more like when you're traveling abroad and you're committing crimes and violent acts, they all tie it in. It's all tied into a conspiracy. But when you get interstate commerce, that's something that the Feds always use against you. I mean, I had a lot of cases like that where guys would, you know, do drug dealing, mm-hmm. and sell and buy and distribute, and they would cross state lines, and that's how the Feds would get them, because they would have them distributing drugs in another city or to another jurisdiction. So that's what they get you. They lock you into that.
Right. Knowing that we've seen this before with Tekashi, with Bobby Shmurda, you know, a lot of people are kind of like in disbelief that Casanova can be wrapped in something like this.
I mean, I'm not going to say or say he's guilty of anything just yet, because the Feds have the case. But my opinion, and for what I heard, when you have a case like this and he's involved, 9 times out of 10, somebody's giving him up or somebody's cooperating to say he was involved in this gang, you know? Or they have enough evidence to prove that he's involved in this gang. So it's going to behoove it of him to say, hey, I wasn't, or I'm not involved in this. But when you have 18 people right. that they arrested, that's a lot of people belonging to one organization. And some or more or several are going to talk. And they're going to say what their involvement was, what they did, possibly if he was involved in what he did. Mm-hmm. They're going to talk.
Right. And they are involved in some sort of like the government fraud about this COVID situation that we're in now.
Well, you talking about another rapper?
No. I'm talking about the same case, but they were involved in
yeah, they were using some. I think what happened in the Casanova case, from what I knew, is that they were using, they were defrauding the government by the program that provided stimulus checks and things like that to other people that were getting money, unemployment, fraud, things like that. So they hit you on that too. They hit you on a slew of charges, and all they have to do is just prove it by you presenting yourself as a certain person, cashing a check, wiring money. You know, they get you for all these things because you're gonna have to deal with a banking institution or some kind of foreign institution if you have money like that overseas. So the feds get you, you know, traveling, airlines, airport, federal government. You know what I'm saying? They lock you into a lot of different things that you can't get out of. That's why when I was on the job and I did a lot of those cases and I went after violent gangs, I used the feds to come with me, the ATF, the FBI, the DEA. I had a friend in each group. So they would always say, Derrick, we love working with you. We'll take this case, we'll go with you. But, you know, the district attorneys in New York didn't really like it so much because they wanted right to first refusal. But sometimes, you know, in cases like this, you need the feds to come in and help. Right. Because they have the laws, they have the leeway to get these cases off the ground quickly, and they have it, and you have a greater probability and solvability of ending these cases with the violence that these guys commit.
Right. You're telling me off camera that a lot of these rappers don't make the money that we think they make.
Well, I always say that, and that's my opinion. This is what I've learned over the years by dealing with a lot of the people in this business. A lot of rappers don't make the money that people think they make. They see them on TV. Your big artists are your Drakes, your Diddy's, your Jay-Z's. Guys like that are making a lot of money. Those guys are making a lot of money. But a lot of these other rappers are not making that kind of money. And sometimes the problem is they live outside their lifestyles. I want to be on a private jet. I want to be, on a yacht out in the Mediterranean, you know? Right. And you're looking at guys like, are you serious? This guy doesn't have that kind of money, you know, to go out and do that. But people see this and they perceive that these rappers are making a lot of money. They make their money on touring. They make their money, record sales is like, all right, but they make their money on touring advances from record companies and appearances in clubs, you know.
Which is not happening
anymore right now because of COVID, but it's tough out here for everybody, for rappers, for regular people to make money now with this COVID going on. So, you know, I'm not surprised about a lot of things I see or hear.
Right. Speaking of that, let's get into the G. Herbo situation. He got pulled in with the feds.
Yeah, G. Herbo's case is a somewhat different.
Different also.
Because he doesn't have the conspiracy with drugs and the violence, okay, but he has wire fraud. He has identity fraud. So they got him on that. And they said, from what I heard, for the last 4 years, I think it was, he was charging, or they were charging airline tickets and lavish travel and expenses and cars and things like that with money they didn't even have by using false identities, right, you know? And as a result of this, it was fraud out of Massachusetts, I believe. So the feds went out and they put a case together and they brought G. Herbo in. And now G. Herbo's got to find a way to get out of this also because, of course, again, like I said earlier, the feds have cooperators, and I'm sure there's other people that were involved in this fraudulent scheme that are looking at some time that want to cooperate, and they're going to say what his involvement possibly was in this case. I mean, it's a shame right now because if you look at the last month of October into November, there must have been, let's put it this way, there must have been 6 to 7 violent shootings with rap artists, and then these fraudulent cases coming up. So the hot topic now in the media is rappers. Because if you look at the social media and the news, you see that the rapper Mo 3 got shot in Dallas. Right. You see King Von, right? Was it Atlanta or was it Miami?
I think it was in Atlanta.
Atlanta, yeah, I think it was Atlanta, King Von. But you got, was it Drizzy or Busy? I forget the name of the other artist I was reading about. People send me a lot of this stuff because, you know, people call me up or they'll email me or send me stuff and say, hey, look, man, you know, this is going on, that's going on. So you keep track of it. But there's so many rappers now that got shot or killed in these different cities. Dallas and Houston are hot places. Atlanta, the Southwest is really hot right now. And the rap music industry is getting a lot of publicity. And look, up here in New York, or with G. Herbo and Casanova now, with the fraud cases, you know, the rap music industry is being looked at very closely, right, with all the stuff going on. Not only by New York, but by other cities and other federal agencies.
Right.
You know.
Now, what do you predict? Like this thing, the Herbo and the Casanova thing happened almost simultaneously. It's like this thing was
well, you know,
timed.
you know what they did? The feds waited too. They waited to. I don't think they said, okay, you lock up Herbo and we're going to lock up Casanova. I don't think they did that. I don't think they did Herbo and said, okay, we're going to do Herbo and then we're going to do Casanova and we're going to do both of them. They didn't do that. What happened was that the cases just came at a time where they had enough evidence. And you know, you got to remember something too. The feds have a timeline where they started the case. They want to finish it by a certain time, and they picked this time to finish those cases. So I don't think they have coincidences. I don't think they're like the Fed said, okay, we're going to do this and you do that.
It's not like they called each other up and like,
right, or they're going after rappers now. They're not, because what happens is that a lot of these rappers bring attention to themselves with these shootings, with these charges, with these conspiracies, these gangs. You're bringing all this attention to yourselves, and then you wonder why the feds and everybody's after you, because some of the guys in your crews are committing crimes and murders and shootings and robberies and drug dealing. And, you know, it becomes a problem. And, you know, people are not going to stand for that, you know, especially when people get hurt, innocent people.
Exactly. Let's go into, I told you something about the JMJ case.
Right.
There was something, I can replay that so you can refresh your memory, or if not, do you remember offhand?
What do you mean about that?
There was the thing that happened.
Oh, you're talking about the attorneys asking for more time. They put in a motion.
Break that down for me, please.
What the attorneys did in the Jam Master Jay case was they need more time. There's such a thing called discovery, where they have to be provided with a lot of materials about the case through the government, through the government. They'd have to put over what evidence they have, and they have to prepare the case. So what happens is, I think the attorneys representing Ronald Tenard and Little D, Carl Jordan, is that they wanted more time to review documents, videotapes, evidence, to talk to witnesses, to gather as much information as they can. So they put a motion in because they knew they had a certain amount of time before the case expired, where they couldn't present anything. So they put a motion in to ask for more time, because they have a certain amount of time to present things to the courts and the federal courts as well. So the federal courts are saying, okay, well, you made a motion to ask for more time, we're going to grant it. And that's basically what that was.
Right, and Lil D and Tenard gave up their right because they're supposed to be
speedy trial.
Yeah, explain that.
They have a right to speedy trial. They have a right to be tried, but be brought to court quickly. But what they did was that they say, look, we're not ready. It's COVID right now. We have a lot going on. And the attorneys are right by saying that, because everything that's going on right now, they can't get to witnesses. They can't get the things that they want because places are closed. You can't get information. You can't go in. So they need more time. But I would say by next year sometime, you'll see this thing move a lot quicker, because hopefully the vaccine will be out. COVID will be less of a problem for a lot of people. The courts will be back open full time, and people can get what they need to get done.
Right. Now here's my thing. We don't know what at this point what was said. If they even said Lil D or Tenard said anything. You did mention that Tenard was actually set to be released. Now with him being hit with the JMJ case.
Well, you got to figure, like I said, Tenard was doing time for federal robberies he committed out in Nassau County, where he got convicted in federal court, and he was up to be released soon, but then they hit him with this charge. Right. So now he's probably very upset, and he's got a lot more to lose than anybody, because he's done 17 years and he wanted to get out. So now he's looking at possibly another 17 years to 25 years in jail. So, that's a big gamble for him to even say, hey, I'm going to cooperate in this matter, or I'm not. And I think in his best interest, he probably will cooperate. That's what I'm thinking. That's my opinion, but I could be wrong, but I doubt it, because he's already been incarcerated a long time. So I can't see him not coming clean with this and saying, look, this is what happened, and if you guys could, give me less time, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah. Now also here, Lil D's not having a good time in there, so who knows if he'll cooperate,
Well, we don't know. Like I said, we don't know about anything yet. Everything is too early to tell, but we'll wait and see. Next year sometime, towards the middle of the year, I guess we'll know a lot more about this case and what goes on with it.
My thing, since you know more about these guys, don't you think the feds would want to know, or I wonder how come they didn't pull in Big D, the father.
I don't know. I don't know yet. I know they're still investigating this case, so they still got a lot of information to gather. The case is not over yet. Yeah. They're going to still go out and do more work and find out who else was involved or how they were involved. So we'll see. We'll wait. Everything's a waiting game. We'll wait and see what happens.
Let me ask you this. Would you be surprised if BD was brought in?
No, I wouldn't be surprised. But I mean, like I said, again, we'll see what the feds come up with and what they learn. And I'm pretty sure they're going to be talking to a lot of people between now and then, and they'll find out what's going on.
Looks a little scared. You scared of Big D?
No. But I'm saying, listen, you can't get mad at me. You know, you want somebody to be mad at. You know, I don't know why you want to be mad at me.
Man.
Right, and don't get me wrong. There's a lot of other people that are angry out here as well, because Jay was a friend. They were fans, so you got to worry about that too.
You think any of these guys, Big D, Little D, Tenard, can go back to Hollis, can go back to the neighborhoods?
I don't know. That's a tough call. You know, once something like this gets out, it's very tough to be around people that you've known, that they look at you with anger and disgust. You know, it's tough. It's a real tough thing. So we'll see.
Hopefully, you know, through all this long thing, especially because of COVID, we'll see justice, especially for JMJ. That is an old case.
Well, everybody wants to see that. Everybody wants to see justice for him. But like you said too, in this particular case with Jay, people learned a lot of stuff about Jay himself also. And this is what happens in this industry with people. Sometimes people think that people, again, are making a lot of money when they really aren't making that kind of money, you know? Right. And living the lifestyles that they live. And that's where a lot of the problems stem from, because people need to survive out here, and they'll do other things to survive, which I get.
Right. Anything that I'm missing out that we didn't touch on?
No. I mean, like I said, you know, we're going into a new year. You know, hopefully this COVID thing will be under control with a lot of people. Everybody can get past it. But hopefully these rappers or people that are involved in this music industry will see all these things that are going on and maybe don't stop. Maybe, but I don't think it will. I think whenever you have music and money and you have jealousy and hate, and you have all these guys from these inner cities that want to get involved in music, and music's becoming very different. Now, the music's really good, and all the artists that are involved with them and the people that they get involved with, it's hard. It's going to be, I think it's going to be some of the same stuff next year. We're not going to see the end of this. This is going to be going on for a while.
Right. All right. Just to end it on this note, this is something that's serious when it comes to, obviously, the feds, as far as this Casanova's case. This is not something that's going to be brushed under the rug, or going to be just dismissed. This is going to go through No,
it's considered a high-profile case. Right. So right now, because it's a lot of media attention, you know, there's a lot of media attention on these cases, so it's a high-profile case. So it's not going to go away. It's not going to get brushed under the rug. We'll find out what's going to happen, I guess, later on, and we'll just keep monitoring and see what the feds come up with and what they're able to release to the public and what they're able to prove. And we'll see if somebody gets indicted or not get indicted or gets convicted.
I had to clarify because there's a lot of misinformation that gets put out there, and you're the best person to clarify it. Yeah,
I try to do the best I can and let people know that this is what goes on with these cases. But like I said, it's you know, it's just too common now that a lot of this stuff goes on, and unfortunately, you know, these rappers, their careers get hurt or get cut short, you know?
Right. All right, there it is, man.
Hey, again, guys, go to It's AGTV on YouTube. That's the homie, and he's got a great YouTube channel.